The year 2000 was not a great one in the history of British theme parks. By the end of May, 3 people had died on separate rides around the UK, and the bad luck didn't stop there. In July of that year, a day trip to Blackpool Pleasure Beach with friends turned into a gruesome nightmare for an 11-year-old boy as he managed to slip out of his car halfway through riding one of the park's most popular attractions. To add to the horror, the ride in question was submerged in darkness, which made it near impossible to tell exactly what happened. This is the infamous story of the Space Invader Disaster. This is the section of the video where I usually put some background information on the person, but unfortunately I couldn't really find much at all despite digging. I did find that the boy was named Christopher Sherratt, and he was born sometime in 1989. He was from Blackpool, and he had just finished at Revo Primary School and was due to start at Palatine High School after the holidays. To celebrate the start of the holidays, Christopher, along with 2 other friends, went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach on the 21st of July 2000. If you are watching this video from the United Kingdom, let's be honest, you've probably been to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, or at least know about it. First opening its doors in 1896, Blackpool Pleasure Beach bills itself as the UK's most ride-intensive amusement park. There are over 120 rides and attractions, including one of the most famous roller coasters to ever have existed, the Big One. The park lies on the seafront of Blackpool and spans over 42 acres. It is highly regarded as being one of the most popular theme parks in the world, beating PortAventura and even Disneyland Paris. Prior to the incident, Christopher and his friends were having a great day at the park and had been on rides such as the Maze and the Big One. This was all about to change, as approximately 8 o'clock, they boarded a ride known as the Space Invader. Created by German manufacturer Zera, the Space Invader opened on the 21st of August 1984. It was a huge event for the theme park and generated hype quickly, which made the Space Invader one of the most popular rides in the theme park. The ride was a sit-down roller coaster, and at the time you could fit 4 people in each car, and riders were restrained with a seatbelt. The Space Invader was mostly submerged in darkness, with lighting and audio effects throughout. Before that day, the ride had an excellent safety record, with no accidents being reported. The group of 3 boarded the Space Invader at approximately 8 PM. Around a minute into the ride, something went wrong. Christopher somehow managed to slip out of the car. Christopher's friends who was on the ride with him saw some of the incident unfold. He said that he had turned around from his position in the middle of the car to see Christopher's body falling over the edge. He stated, "He was coming out of the car. I saw his white t-shirt going over the edge. I put my hand onto the back of Christopher's seat, and the seatbelt was still fastened. But Christopher was not there. Because Christopher wasn't in the car correctly, he hit his head on a stanchion, which cartwheeled him out of the car and onto the track. Here, he was hit by an oncoming car, where he fell off the track. They quickly alerted the ride operator, telling their friend that one of them had gone missing. The ride operator quickly stopped the ride and switched on the emergency lights. He found Christopher and called the paramedics. Unfortunately, despite their best effort, Christopher died on the scene. After his mother was informed, a spokeswoman for the Pleasure Beach quickly issued a statement saying, "We are shocked and saddened by what's happened, and our sympathies are with this young boy's family." An investigation was then launched. When Christopher hit his head and fell, he suffered massive head and internal injuries, and it was determined during a post-mortem that these are the injuries that killed him. The ride was closed following the incident, whilst health and safety executives carried out their investigation. This involved checking the safety of the ride and interviewing witnesses and the ride operator. After an extensive investigation, the verdict of accidental death was returned. This is because they believe that Christopher, out of panic, either reached out of his car or unbuckled his seatbelt. He then hit his head on the stanchion, which caused him to fall off. Alan Jackson, a representative from the Health and Safety Executive, said if he had remained correctly seated, there was little or no risk of him coming out of the ride under normal operational conditions. He went on to say, on hitting his head on the stanchion, it would have decelerated his head, but the rest of his body would want to keep going, so he effectively cartwheeled down the track where he was hit by the next car. Although the investigation claimed the seatbelt wasn't restraining him properly, no charges were brought against Blackpool Pleasure Beach. I will state though that it was never confirmed that he himself unbuckled his seatbelt. They also found that the ride had been running absolutely correctly, so that had nothing to do with the incident. Christopher's mother said her singular hope is that the circumstances of the accident lead to improvements in safety. She hasn't commented on the incident any further. The Space Invader ride continued to operate until it was refurbed in 2004. After a failed evacuation in 2008, the ride closed and was sold to Breen Leisure Park, where it continues to operate this day, now renamed Astrostorm. They have changed the ride up a little bit. Now you can only sit 3 people in each car, and it has an overhead restraint as well. If Christopher's family do end up finding this video, I hope you are doing better today. And as always, thanks for watching.